Hi. Surprise. I'm back. After my first short video got 12 likes, I was shaken by dopamine that rushed through my body, so I thought to myself, why not pushing it to the next level? Why not trying to get, maybe, 13 likes? In other words, body chemical reactions brought me here. Addiction, so to say. Today I want to talk about Edgard Varèse. He was a French-American composer. He was really unique. He saw the musical aesthetic of his compositions as organized sounds and thought that, to stubbornly conditioned ears, anything new in music has always been called noise, and he posed the question, what is music but organized noises? This record I'm holding up is The Complete Works of Edgard Varèse, Volume 1 EMS Recordings, 1950. One of Varèse's most devoted fans was the American guitarist and composer Frank Zappa, who, upon hearing a copy of The Complete Works, became obsessed with the composer's music. Zappa also liked the idea that on this record was a composition called Déserts, and that the place Lancaster, California, where young Frank Zappa lived, was in the Mojave Desert. What is also very interesting about Edgard Varèse is that he was pushed to further his scientific understanding at the Institute Technique, a high school in Italy that specialized in teaching mathematics and science. Here, Varèse became interested in the works of Leonardo da Vinci. It was through Varèse's love of science that he began to study sound, and even more important, he also was well aware of the mysteries of alchemy. Once upon a time, during a performance of Beethoven's 7th Symphony at the Salle Pleyel, Varèse had the experience of the music breaking up and projecting in space. It was an idea that stayed with him for the rest of his life, that he would later describe as consisting of sound objects floating in space. When he wrote Arcana between 1925 and 1927, he first conceived a few motifs for this piece in a dream he had on the 9th of October 1925. He believed that the birth of art came from the unconscious and not from reason. The score of Arcana is preceded by a quote from Paracelsus's Hermetic Astronomy in Latin, English, and French. While Paracelsus didn't inspire Arcana, Varèse has compared his dream world to the mystical insights found in the works of Paracelsus. Thus, the symphonic poem is named Arcana, not after Paracelsus, but in homage to him of whom Varèse once remarked, "You can count Paracelsus among my friends." Even that Frank Zappa never pointed out his own interest in especially alchemy, he definitely knew about it through his studies on Varèse. Here you see a bunch of Frank Zappa's books on Varèse from his private archive. These are not books that made him sleepy. Books that made him sleepy were books that offered a fantasy story, like novels, artistically made-up stories, good or not. Zappa himself had too much fantasy of his own to deal with, so a written fantasy by another, let's call it dreamer, made him sleepy and sent him to his own dreamland. Movies were the better medium for Zappa, to get into a fantasy from beginning to the end. With these Varèse books here, it's a different thing. They are non-fiction, informations, facts, for research. You don't have to read them from the beginning to the end to understand a storyline, to expand your thoughts about whatever. All the stuff you can know about Varèse is written down in these books pictured here. Very special are the 2 volumes. Varèse, A Looking-Glass Diary, written by Louise Varèse, Edgar's wife, who also was involved in the New York Dadaism scene. Frank Zappa once said that he loved it that some French artists had a nice short word for the performance art he put on stage in the early days of the mothers of invention, and the word is Dada. He founded in 1968 Intercontinental Absurdities, which is a company dedicated to Dada in action. Louise Varèse became friend with Marcel Duchamp in 1915, She was involved in the 1917 Society of Independent Artists submission of a urinal under the name R. Mutt, known as Fountain. She wrote a defense of the work titled Buddha of the Bathroom, also in 1917. Frank Zappa also liked to mention that he was interested in chemistry when he was a child, interested in things that explode, and that he stopped doing chemistry at the age of 15. And that, however, the teaching of chemical bonds is applied to composing. His spontaneous compositions on stage, aka guitar solos, were named by him the air sculptures. He titled one of his amazing air sculptures, "But who was Fulcanelli?" He never answered the question. Or did he? One thing is sure, Fulcanelli, practicing around the 1920s, was the name used by a French alchemist and esoteric writer, whose identity is still debated. The name Fulcanelli seems to be a play on words. Vulcan, the ancient Roman god of fire, plus El, a Canaanite name for God, and so the sacred fire. Well, nobody knows exactly everything about all the stuff Frank Zappa discovered in his utility muffin research kitchen, but hell yeah, the cruxes were not only from biscuits and muffins. Now, let's see what we got, until now, just by looking at the Varèse record that blew Frank Zappa's mind at the age between 9 and 13. Around this time, he might have felt in love also with Todd Browning's movie, Freaks, an all-time favorite. He also mentioned Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, the movie, as a favorite, and he liked King Kong a lot and paid tribute to the story of the large gorilla with one of his greatest compositions, which is, please note that, an instrumental around 20 minutes long. So much about the Talking Zappa. So we have all these favorites from popular culture next to Varèse, with all the books that also brought Paracelsus, and with him the Hermeticism, Egyptian stuff of all kinds, all those things he put in notes, dots on paper, not words. Some of this stuff he didn't talk about is even hidden in the artwork of his records. When Frank Zappa was asked by Bob Marshall in 1988 to define conceptual continuity, Zappa just answered, "As above, so below." And if you understand this hermetic riddle, which is kind of a trademark by Hermes Trismegistos, and know how to use it, you will accomplish the miracles of the one thing. You will know that one size fits all. Zappa said that all his albums are one big album. There's no difference to write a song called Valley Girl or a piece for the London Symphony Orchestra. And he said that everything is happening all the time. Once upon a time, I wrote a book about all this stuff under my pseudonym, Andreas Rausch. Its title is Zappa-esque. And if you look very close at its illustrations, super close, I mean, you'll see it's all dots on paper.